Godzilla, whom we haven't seen for a long time, has finally reappeared once again. The people have been searching for Bernie for a long time, and he will also make an appearance. David, the founder of the Monarch organization, why was he imprisoned? Today, we will finally get the answer. Without further ado, let's get into today's story. After the Monarch organization released Lisa and the others, David was secretly detained with a hood over his head, but during the delivery, a car suddenly intercepted their path. When the guards opened the door, they discovered that the incoming person was Dua.
Colonel, d'après votre dossier, vous parlez français. Si c'est vrai, raclez-vous la gorge.
As the car shook, the two guards were successfully killed. David was a bit confused. Why would she betray the organization? And Dua explained that it was because of her sister. She died on the day when the monsters landed in San Francisco. That's why she joined the Monarch organization. She did it to eliminate all the monsters. However, it's unfortunate that the Monarch organization's attitude towards the monsters is completely inactive. So, she with the people who also want to revenge found another leader, and David was the best candidate because they believed he could lead them in the right direction and track the monsters. In order to quickly reunite with Lisa and the others, David had no choice but to agree for now. Let's go back to the timeline of 1955. Since the military conducted a nuclear test at Bikini Atoll, there have been no traces of Godzilla in the world. After this incident, the military-established Monarch organization gained significant fame. However, the military believed that the threat of the giant beasts no longer existed. They used the funds originally allocated to the Monarch organization to hold a luxurious party. The party was extravagant, but Tracy felt very uncomfortable. However, in order to continue their work, they had to comply with the arrangements. They had to find more traces of the monsters. Only then could they keep the Monarch organization alive. Coincidentally, at this time, Andrew received a report of abnormal radiation levels from the island of Iajima. This was connected to their previous findings of Godzilla's origin and the wreckage of the Aratrum at Bikini Atoll. The radiation levels emitted by the giant black bats are identical. So, Andrew and Tracy decided to take a step ahead. David was left at the base to take charge. They quickly arrived at the incident location. Here, they met with Dr. Suzuki, who discovered the anomaly. To lure the monster out, Dr. Suzuki actually created a gamma radiation ball. They placed the sphere in the center of the lake. Now they just needed to activate the machine remotely and wait quietly for the monster to take the bait. While the three of them waited in silence, David, who was supposed to stay at the Monarch organization, unexpectedly arrived here. It turns out that when Andrew came here, he had been in contact with David, keeping him updated on the progress. When David heard about the progress, he was also filled with anticipation, so he didn't greet them and came here directly. Andrew was happy to see his assistant and introduced David to Dr. Suzuki. However, Tracy, standing behind them, had a strange expression, as if she didn't welcome David's arrival. The reason she wasn't happy about David's arrival was that they were going through a breakup. David, as a military man, had to follow orders, but Tracy's approach to dealing with monsters went against the military's, causing disagreement between them. Tracy needed a man who fully supported her, which is why she ultimately chose to be with Andrew. Tracy thought David's arrival indicated something unexpected, but David only wanted to meet her. Just as David and Tracy were arguing, the radiation ball in the middle of the lake suddenly disappeared. The next second, their attention was completely drawn to the radiation ball that dropped on the shore. Everyone turned their heads and saw Godzilla slowly emerging from the lake. The timeline goes back to 2015, where David and Lisa have successfully reunited. They traveled all the way to the Algerian desert, and according to the coordinates calculated from the map, Lisa's father may be in front of them. However, Mary in the back seat suddenly asked Dua when she could go home. Dua responded that their plans couldn't keep up with the changes, but he promised that all promises will definitely be fulfilled. The premise is that they can all safely from the desert. While they were talking, they had already reached their destination. After some investigation, they finally saw Lisa's father. Unexpectedly, he was carrying a radiation ball as well. They saw that their father was alive and shouted happily, and he quickly heard their voices. But when David took out his binoculars to check, he noticed Lisa's father making a gesture to leave quickly, without waiting for David's response. Lisa's father, as if sensing something approaching, quickly got into the car and fled. Just as everyone was about to return to the car, members of the Monarch organization also arrived at the scene. But before they could wait for the plane to approach, the slope below suddenly began to collapse. The massive tremor of the mountain made it impossible for them to stand firm. They stared blankly at this colossal creature as it slowly appeared before them. Although they alarmed this gigantic creature, Godzilla had no intention of attacking. It simply departed silently from the scene, and as Godzilla left, David decided to continue tracking it. He also wanted to fulfill some of his own regrets. However, this caused a serious disagreement with Lisa and the others. Their original goal was to find Lisa's father, not to search for Godzilla. Therefore, they separated once again. As they walked through this vast desert, they once again lost track of Lisa's father. But as Mary continued walking, her conscience suddenly kicked in, and she revealed her collaboration with the Monarch organization. It turned out that a few years ago, she had offended some people and was forced to flee to Tokyo. She lived a life in hiding, but she never expected that the Monarch organization discovered her true identity. They used this information as leverage, promising to help her return home and resolve her troubles if she disclosed her whereabouts. But now, it seemed that the Monarch organization had completely broken their promise, which was why she revealed this information. She hoped to gain forgiveness from them, but to her surprise, Lisa listened and walked away without looking back. And at this moment, the timeline once again returned to the year 1955. David learned that Godzilla was still alive, and he decided to report this to the highest-ranking officer. He had another argument with Tracy. Tracy didn't want the military to use lethal weapons against the monster again. The most powerful weapons humanity had were no longer effective. If David informed them that Godzilla was still alive, it would only lead the authorities to develop even more destructive weapons. However, as a soldier, David had to follow orders, but to their surprise, their control over the Monarch organization was lost after David met Tracy. One of the officers informed them that due to David's unauthorized departure, everything in that place, including command authority, would be transferred to the Navy. Tracy and the others were very angry about this matter. This episode ends here. In this episode, we learned about the situation with the Monarch organization, why David, as one of its founders, was imprisoned by them, and Bernie, who had been missing, finally appeared. Godzilla, whom we haven't seen for a long time, also made an appearance. Let's look forward to what fate awaits the characters in the next episode. If you enjoyed my channel, please subscribe right now.